ไม่ยังไม่ได้ทำอะไรเลยค่ะบ
ไม่
ริษัทก็
เลย
เพิ่ง
ใช่ไหมอ๋อ
เพิ่งเปลี่ยนงานมานั่งเรือกันนะคะสมาชิก3 คนก็หานั่งหน้าไม่กลัวฝน
อันนี้ต้อนรับสมาชิกใหม่โดยบังเอิญ
สวัสดีค่ะ
มาโดยไม่ได้นัดหมาย
คนไทยเมื่อกี้เจอคนเดนมาร์กที่พูดไทยได้ด้วยน่ารักมาก
ใจดีมากทุกคนเดนมาร์กใจดีมาก
บอกชี้ทางให้เราว่าไปทางไหน
ไม่ต้องถาม
ใช่
ใจดีมากๆเลยทักเราเลยคนไทยเรายังต้องถามนะว่า
It's funny
เมื่อ
on
วาน
that
ก็
flight
เจอ
yesterday.
บนรถบัสออกมาสนามบินเจอผู้ชายคนหนึงค่ะเขาบอกว่า
We want to take off.
คุณควรจะเอากระเป๋าวางนอนลงเนาะมันจะได้ไม่ไหลระวังตั้ง
Yeah.
ก็มีจิตใจดีมากเลยนะ
มันจะไปลงไหนเดี๋ยวฉันดูทางให้ถ้าถูกต้อง10 นาทีถึงนี่น่ารักมากจริงๆสมกับที่เขาบอกว่า
คนแบบว่าแฮป
เอ
ปี้
อคนดีมีความสุขน่ารักอะไรเงี้ยชีวิตดีชีวิตดีจริงน่าจะมีความสุขที่สุดในโลกจริงๆ
I'm going to give you the very important safety instructions, so please listen up. We have a lot of bridges on this tour, and I do mean a lot. And it is highly dangerous to hit those bridges while we go at them. Not even at full speed, it can still be a hurtful experience. So please sit down, everyone. It's not something I recommend, it's something I demand. That you all sit down when we have a bridge. And you are also, and will be just fine. Thank you.
มาเป็นเต้นๆนิดหน่อยมาให้นั่งลงนะจ๊ะ
your head stay
อย่ายืนอย่ายืน
Heaps of room. But you're right, if you stand up, you're in trouble. Start with its concrete. If you're not, no, you don't need to hunch. You don't need to hunch.
Oh well
Alright, so coming up on our left-hand side, we have Oliver's Church, which was originally built during the reign of King Christian IV, one of the most well-known monarchs in Danish history. It's the only church in the city which quite literally borders the water, and it is closely tied not only to the navy but also to the royal family. For example, our former exchange, an iconic building dating back to 1625. Earlier this year, on the Queen's birthday no less, it burned down. Most of it was destroyed in this devastating fire. Fortunately, it will be rebuilt in the coming years, but which form it will take, time will tell. Will it be modernized or brought back to its original form? We have a low bridge in front of us. Please remain seated. Thank you.
claustrophobic. I don't like that. I don't want to look at it either.
That's okay. You should sit down like the other end.
So that's good.
Alright. And out.
Coming up on our left-hand side, we have the Danish National Bank. It was designed by one of our most well-known architects, Arne Jacobsen. Unfortunately, he never lived to see it completed. He passed away a few years prior. But on history, its design sort of resembles the architecture of the old stock exchange, but whereas that dates back to the 1600s, this is from the early 1900s. It houses many of the bigger Danish businesses today. We have a bridge coming up. Sail around.
look at the spire.
Coming up here on our right-hand side, this cream-colored building with a red tiled roof is kind of interesting because it doesn't look the same on each side. So let's see if you can spot the differences between this side and the other side. I'll give you guys a couple of seconds.
This side and the other side. What do you mean?
That side. That's all modern.
And according to legend, it's because the king was sitting in his palace up there. He couldn't see this side, so he didn't really care how it turned out. It's known as Eichel's warehouse, named after Nikolai Eichel, a royal architect from the 1700s. Today, it is part of the Danish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's closed down and has instead been taken over by the Soho Club. Similar sort of social clubs can be found in New York City, for example, and you're only allowed to enter the premises if you have a valid membership. Coming up on our right hand side, we have a huge building with a red tiled roof. This building houses the Icelandic embassy, but also representations from Greenland and the Faroe Islands. Iceland used to be part of Denmark until 1944, when it gained its independence. Greenland and the Faroe Islands are still part of the Danish kingdom. Each has 2 seats in the Danish parliament. That's 4 seats out of 179. And coming up, ladies and gentlemen, sitting next to you, or just someone you really like, in many sorts of ways, you can give each other a kiss, or a hug, or a high five, I don't care, as long as it's consensual. If you wonder about the nickname the Kissing Bridge, it's because these 2 mouths, when they are put apart and then back together, it sort of resembles 2 mouths.
สะพานแยกจากกันได้แล้วกลับมาจูบกันได้นะคะเมื่อกี้
So here on our left hand side, we can see the well-known Nyhavn area, or
เหมือนสะพาน
Nyhavn
เปิด
in
ปิด
English,
แน่เลยบ้านเรา
known for its many drunken soldiers. Rider Hans Christian Andersen spent more than 20 years of his life, and here he wrote some of his most well-known fairy tales. Speaking of well-known stories, one of the most well-known Danish ones is the tragedy of Hamlet, which was written by an English. This building, which opens 2008 in February, it houses a lot of theatre productions. The Royal Playhouse, that's its name. I forgot what it was called again. Here on our right hand side, we have some of the most expensive apartments, not just in Copenhagen, but in all of Denmark, due to open by next year, 2025. So will public indoor and outdoor swimming pools also under construction? They are being constructed on an island known as
ติดน้ำอ่ะ
but it's nicknamed more so gonna see all sorts of educational sites for more creative subjects. You can take a look around as we enter this area, but it's also a silent zone, and that means that before we reach this bridge, I do have to turn off the microphone. It's just gonna last a couple of minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats, sit down, we have a bridge coming up. Here on our left-hand side, we have what used to be an torpedo boat. Originally active during the Cold War, this is where torpedo boats would be built and repaired. Today, it's still possible to sail into the building, as you can see, but it has been turned into modern-day apartments. And it's a great example of how to reuse historical buildings for modern-day purposes, something we excel at here in Copenhagen. That was all that was left of the Danish Navy in the early 1800s, after on 2 occasions the British attacked the Danish Navy and destroyed most of it. Why did the Brits attack Denmark to begin with? Well, one of the many reasons was the fact that Denmark was in an alliance with France and Napoleon Bonaparte. He wasn't exactly popular with the British, so they looked to teach us a lesson. Are considered cultural heritage, and if you look inside, you can see that many of them are today used for exhibitions and office spaces. Also a very well-known area, Christiania was originally established many decades ago by what you might call a group of hippies. They took over a former military base in the area, and from there they wanted to start their own community based on different values to the rest of Danish society. And this community is still going strong to this day. They recently started paying tax for living in the area. I think it's
Sorry.
something like that. They started a disposal system and many other things like that. Of course, the residents of Christiania, there have been a few run-ins with the police these last few decades, but many people will also consider it kind of charming and a sort of sense of have a sense of national pride that you can have this sort of different community in the center of our capital. So coming up,
โรงแรมขนาดเล็กที่มีห้องเดียวนะคะแล้วเป็นโฮเทลที่เล็กที่สุดในโคเปนเฮเกน มีห้องเดียว
ใครจะชอบที่ตรงนี้ล่ะ
ใช่ใช่โอ้สุดยอดเลย
And every year travels around the world carrying young people who aspire to become sailors. Either way, they end up having adventure of a lifetime. Was designed by famous Danish architect Bjarke Ingels and the VIG Group, and it has quickly become another symbol of sustainability in modern Danish architecture.
มีควันออกมาจากกล่อง
Here on our right-hand side, we can see a series of ships, which are now museums that tell the stories of the Danish Navy or which were used by the Navy. For example, we have the Black Submarine, known as the Seal, like the animal. It was originally active during the Iraq War in 2003. Ahead of us we have the battery
เรือนี้เคยปล่อยจรวดมิสไซล์ออกไปโดยไม่ได้ตั้งใจนะคะ แต่ไม่มีใครได้รับบาดเจ็บ
during the 1740s. The cannons outside, they are used at least twice every day. At sunrise, always 8 o'clock in the morning, otherwise it would be too early during the summertime. And then once again, when the sun sets, and this time it's when the sun actually sets. Once it does, the flag on all public buildings have to go down according to national flag code. The cannons then will also salute the royal family on special occasions like the Queen's birthday. And coming up on our right-hand side, just behind this yellow harbor bus, we can see the colorful urban rigger containers. These are a somewhat cheap alternative for students who wants to live in Copenhagen but cannot afford an apartment around the center. So they can move out here and sit around the harbors of Copenhagen without having to enter a mermaid. Originally, the character was conceived by Hans Christian Andersen. Much later, it was turned into a... Legend has it that the sculpture is inspired by not one but two women, Van Eriksen's own wife, and also a very talented ballet dancer. It's also around here we find the Danish Resistance Museum, which is a great place to visit if you're eager to learn more about Denmark during the Second World War.
ที่
was
ต้องมา
never
ถ่ายหน้า
brought to the size
เออว่าลอง
it
หัว
was
หน่อยเนี่ยถึง
originally.
หัวใช้ได้เลยเนี่ย
If you look to your left-hand side, you can now see the Opera House, which opened in 2005. It was designed by architect Henning Larsen, and the three chandeliers we see in the foyer, they are designed by Danish and Icelandic artist Olafur Eliasson. And generally on the other side of this bridge, just around the corner, we have Town Christiania just behind these buildings.
อยู่ข้างหลังนี้
And at the center floor, of course, you have the beautiful canal and the historic buildings that surround it.
ในชุมชนคริส
But
เตีย
as
น
I said, this area is a silent zone, which means that I will turn off the microphone starting now until we are at the end of the canal. We also have a bridge coming up, so please, everyone, sit down, sit back, and relax and enjoy the stunning views.
เข้าสู่เขตเงียบไซเลนโซนไกด์จะปิดไว้ชมวิวไป
Not gonna try it.
Everything's good here? Could you please move back? Go beyond the yellow line again?
แล้วก็ต้องให้ถอยหลังเส้นเหลือง
You can look up to the left and we can see the Church of Our Savior. 400 steps to the top for a great view of the city. To get your cameras ready, but before that, we do have a bridge. Please sit down and mind your heads. Thank you.
Cosa sono dei servizi? By Olafur Eliasson, the Danish
Yes,
Icelandic
Fabric.
artist who also designed the chandeliers in the opera, and the towers represents references the ship's mast in Iceland.
จะข้ามน้
On our right-hand side, we have the Black Diamond, which is the nickname of the Danish Royal Library. Dating back to 1999, this year celebrates 25 years of existence. But the original Royal Library, we can see just behind the Black Diamond. Also, right next to the Black Diamond, we have the statue of the lesser-known mermaid, made by Anne-Marie Carl. Coming up, we have blocks. This new complex encompasses quite a few things. There are apartments, different sorts of exhibitions, playgrounds for kids, and the DAC, the Danish Arts. Ladies and gentlemen, we are entering a canal with a lot of bridges. The first one is very low, so please sit down and mind your heads. And now on our right hand side inside, one of the things that Danes are well known for is our love of beer and alcohol in general. And this is the brew house built during the reign of King Christian IV. During the 1600s, water quality was very bad, not just in Copenhagen, but in the entire country, which means that everyone had to drink beer and wine to survive, and that included the children. But it was nowhere near as strong as what we drink
เด็ก
today.
ๆก็ต้องกินด้วยนะ
Soldiers, they were afforded 8 to 10 liters of beer a day to cover their needs. And it was to cover the needs not just of the Christian fort, which burned down in 1794, forcing the royal family to move to where they live now. Fittingly, it now leads to the third Christian fort where we have the parliament. There's a bridge, so please remain seated. Thank you.
Well, you don't know.
How many?
How many
On this round, I think it's something like 40.
40.
So on our left-hand side, we have the Danish National Museum, which is also nicknamed the
National
Princess
Museum
Mansion because it was originally
พิพิธภัณฑ์
built
ส
for
ถาน
the
แห่ง
Crown
ชาติ
Prince during the middle of the 1700s. Since the end of the 1800s, it has housed the National Museum we see now. And in front of us, we have perhaps the trickiest one of all the bridges, the Storm Bridge. What's tricky about this bridge is not just the fact that it's low, but also very narrow. So here I ask that you keep arms, leg sets, and everything else inside the boat, because we're gonna get pretty close to the edges of the bridge, and it can be a hurtful experience if you do not watch out. So please be careful, and of course, remain seated. Thank you. Yeah, and some of the boats, they have more challenges trying to cover than others.
เขียนสะพานนี้แคบมากก็แบบว่ามีชนแล้วก็ทำมีกันไว้ให้ด้วย
Yeah, once you get into the canals, no problem. But in the open sea, it's cold. They are taken out every day to get used to the traffic and the noises in case they are needed for a royal event. There's a Christmas market being set up at the moment you can enjoy. And there's also the oldest public museum in Denmark, this mustard-colored building. It houses the Thorvaldsens Museum, named after famous sculptor Bertel Thorvaldsen. Here you can enjoy many of his beautiful works of art. If I may give you guys a recommendation, maybe you should visit the ruins of Christiansborg Palace, because there you can see an exhibition on the witch trials, which happened during the reign of King Christian IV, because we've been talking so much about the building he raised, but he's also known for being in charge of the largest number of witch trials in Danish history. And you can hear some of their personal stories underneath the parliament if you wish to.